So, why do you choose teaching?
So before teaching, so I'm 25, I'll tell you that. When I was about 18, I guess first job I could say I did more customer service. I love people. I'm a people person. I can talk to a stranger. Typically not my age type of person. I'm more uncomfortable with my age type of people, but if they're older or a lot younger than me, then I'm happy to talk to a stranger. But before, or I should say after the donut shop, which was kind of just like my high school middle school type of job that I did, I was a CNA. So I was a certified nurse assistant. And I worked at Wake
Okay.
Med and then the UNC system, which is actually where I'm close to right now. I'm in Chapel Hill. And I was working on a behavioral health floor. So at Wake Med, I worked on a behavioral health floor as well as UNC. And once I went over to UNC, I worked with more of my adolescents and these younger students where I actually got to kind of tutor them, that where we had, I guess you could say, sometimes one-on-one, sometimes I was myself with like three other, I wouldn't call them students, but three other patients there. And these students or patients, I have to keep calling them patients, I guess, but these patients had to kind of do lessons to where these lessons would then help them get discharged. So they had lessons on stress management. They had lessons on how to cope with an issue with a parent. They had lessons on respecting parents and things like that, to where we'd have a discussion with them and kind of rate their discussion on how they were critically thinking. So if they're just like, well, I'm going to yell at my mom in this situation, then maybe that's your lower end of thinking and they need to redo. But if they're going to say, well, I'm going to actually figure out the situation that I had with my mom and apologize and maybe talk it through, then maybe that would be a higher level. So it was a lot of just critical thinking with the students, giving them ideas on how to cope with stress sometimes, pulling apart, obviously some days then we'd have students fighting or patients fighting, and kind of pulling them apart and telling them, okay, we need to sit down and we need to discuss this and figure out what's going on between the two of you, because we want you to be happy, we want you to have positive mindsets and to soon get out of here. I had some students or patients who were there for, months, who were there for 2 years. It was just so upsetting. And I think for me, moving on to teaching was, I think over there as a medical professional, it was just a lot of emotional stress on myself. And not even that I didn't love the job, because I did, but once they changed, they sadly kind of got into more of a political setting, and they changed all of our ways of what CNAs could do. And we sadly just didn't get to do the one-on-one anymore with patients and kind of teaching them. And I think that's really why I was there, because I wanted to help that individual student and help those individuals within that group. And then I realized, maybe teaching is for me. I started to take some teaching classes through NC State and just fell in love with it. So then after a while of working at UNC, I think I worked there about a year to 2 years. Wake Med, I had worked there forever. But after that, I was like, what? I think teaching is more for me. I love all of you guys here, but it's time for me to move on. And I think not even that it was an emotional drain or anything. It was more that they changed what I was so used to doing, which was being there for the students and being there for the patients even, and even just being there for coworkers. And they just changed the whole mindset. And I just realized that teaching was more my thing, because it was more of a teamwork type of job. And I was actually going to be there Monday through Friday. And I was actually going to be there with students and having my own classroom and kind of my own way of doing things. But yet at the same time, still having administration looking over me, which is what I do enjoy. So yeah, my CNA job is still amazing. I still have my CNA license or certificate, whatever you want to call it. I think it's different everywhere. So maybe one day I will go back to the medical field. I just think right now teaching is totally where I want to be. So
yeah, and you're still young, so you still have a bright future in front of you.